I think we should leave it.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think so.
No.
It's gonna come in such use, and later on, if you remove it, you can be like, damn, like I really wish we still had that really cool antenna that was attached that you begged me not to remove. I'd be like, that's cool too.
Pay for Spotify and she wants to keep the antenna.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Micah.
And today we are working on a couple of different projects. I'm going to be working on stripping off the paint. We've been using an earth-safe kind of paint stripper. It came in a small quart size, and unfortunately it's just not going to be enough for what we need. It's great for small projects, I'm sure. This is not a small project though. So today we went ahead and we got a new material in that we're going to be practicing with. Total boat, total strip, paint remover. I've tried it on a little patch, so far so good, so we'll see what we're gonna find out today with how much we can get done in this Texas heat. As well as we do have a little bit of a trick up our sleeve thanks to my father and his advice. We're gonna be trying here in the next couple of days. Just have to make a trip to the beauty section at our local HEB to remove some of that caulking I talked about earlier. Today Mike is gonna be working on
Removing the rust off of the hitch and a few other places. A lot of the hardware just has a lot of rust on it, and I've been painstakingly trying to get as much of it off as possible just to make everything look nice, and also the longer the rust sits on there, the more it's going to rot those pieces out. Down the road, it's just going to, it would cause more of a headache than it's worth to not deal with it now. So essentially I'm grinding off all the rust that I possibly can, getting some rust reformer on it, and repainting it. Sorry, our dog is harassing some baby chickens over here.
Not harassing, she's curious.
She's harassing them. I'll be kind of walking through a little bit what I'm doing. It's not all perfect. I'm just doing the best that I can with the tools that I have. Ideally, and I think I mentioned this in another one of the clips in the video, I would like to use a sandblaster or a sandblaster gun. But right now, just with everything going on, it's difficult to get things delivered in a timely manner. And in case we hadn't mentioned it before, we're trying to get this done as soon as possible. Like, we want it to be livable so that we can kind of be on our way and get on with our lives, essentially.
We have a very ambitious goal. We're not going to share that just yet, only because we know that having a plan doesn't always mean it's going to work out. So the closer we get to becoming finished with this project, we'll let you know what our primary goal timeline was going to be. I'm not 100% sure we're going to make it, but we're going to try, right?
We're going to try.
And in order to do that, we have to get started. So we're going to go ahead and get to work.
Nice. So yeah, this paint stripper has destroyed the little tool that we were using, which is not like a designated tool for that, which is fine, but
It's just something we had laying around the camper. So looks like I'm gonna be trying the roller instead. So let's see how that goes.
cool. A little bit about what I've been working on the last few days. Just trying to get as much of the rust off of this hitch and the front part of the frame as possible, and then put some rust reformer on it, and then paint it with this metallic paint. It's also Rust-Oleum brand. So far it's going alright. This front part, the tongue, where the hitch actually is, was actually the easiest part to do. That only took about a day, and a lot of the rust actually came off of it, and super clean underneath, which was great. Right now it's a little dirty because, you know, rust is just blowing all over the place. Able to find writing on it and everything. Same thing on this one. I haven't painted this one yet, but once we do, I think it'll look really good. So it's just a very labor-intensive process. You can probably see there, like, a lot of the crevices and stuff, it's really difficult to get to. So all I'm working with right now is this drill and wire brush. Kind of a tight budget. I would like to get a sandblaster, but I just don't know if it's in the cards right now. We have an air compressor. It's kind of old and beat up, but it works alright. So maybe down the road I'll get something like that, but right now I'm just kind of working with what I have and getting as much of the rust off and then painting it to kind of slow that rust or stop it from getting worse. So we'll see how that goes. And then also the actual hitch part of this, or the motorized part of this, is also getting the rust off of, and that part was also pretty easy. You can see I have it detached. I'm gonna get that reattached probably today if I can get everything painted again. This does work, surprisingly, for it being so old, but somebody disconnected it, so you can't actually use it right now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She didn't know what wire she was pulling on. It's fine because my dad let us borrow his like super heavy duty jack. It's manual. That's why we have this piece of wood over here. And it's kind of a pain, but it works. So just gonna keep doing this whole thing till I can get it to a point where it's ready to be repainted. Hopefully, you know, it'll last. The other thing that we're gonna have to do is take care of the banana wrap. Right there it looks really pretty, and I'm not entirely convinced. I think that's actually just a piece of aluminum. I don't necessarily think that's part of the banana wrap. I'm not sure though. If you guys have an answer for that, go for it. So that part looks really pretty, and the rest of it pretty much looks like this, very like brown and, you know, rusty looking. But for the most part it seems to be in good shape. So that'll probably be a project that we work on down the line. But right now I'm only showing you because it's in the direct vicinity of where I'm standing. So we'll see how this. Alright. So I'm just about ready to start spraying the rust reformer on this thing, in large part because I'm just really sick of trying to get the rust off of it, and it's like murdering my back. So show what it looks like so far. Showing kind of that dark metal underneath. Still having a hard time with those cracks and crevices.
Yeah, you are.
But overall it looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and start putting the rust reformer on this, let it dry. While that's drying, I'll go ahead and paint this guy, the jack. That's what it's called. Go from there. I'm kind of doing this thing in sections, just because it is a lot of work, and getting the rust off of it is a real pain. So as I'm doing another section, I'm painting it. So I did that side yesterday, this hitch side a couple days ago, because if I let it sit even overnight, like with the humidity in Texas, it immediately starts to get rust on, like brand new rust on it again. And it also has been raining a lot the last few years. So every time I come back, if I leave it without having painted it or done something to it to protect it, it'll be rusted again. So just doing it in sections.
Hey Micah, guess what?
What?
Can I get a drum roll?
No.
Please? Just a little drum roll? No? Okay, whatever. Okay, I have something to show you, and I have something to show you guys. Ready? Ta-da! So we are done mostly with the outside. We've completed like our big first to-do list, checklist item, I guess you would call it. And we're super excited about it because it took a lot of hard work, especially on my part, if I do say so myself. And I've got the wounds to prove it. I've got the injuries to tell my story. We are finished with stripping all the paint off of the body. Micah has gone around after I finished all of that and sealed all of the windows, all of the seams, and we're gonna go around and kind of show you guys a little bit of a closer look of what that looks like. I just have to say, it feels so good to be done with that part because... So anyways, we're gonna take you around just to kind of show you what we've been up to and why it's taken so long for us to finish this video. Thank you for being patient and waiting for us, but we wanted to make sure that we were done before we moved on to our next phase. So come on and take a look. Okay. So as you can tell, this is just a couple of examples of where Micah and I have worked really hard on the sides. Try to ignore like the scratch marks and things. It's just, this paint was really hard to get off, and we went through gallons and gallons of paint stripper, stuff that I was really not very fond of actually. So we stripped all this paint, and when I was finished cleaning with acetone and everything after wash to make sure that there was no more paint stripper residue or paint strip pieces on there, Michael went back and he took a sealant that is paintable. So we learned a lesson there is we bought clear sealant, we bought metal to metal sealant, and then we finally realized both of those things you cannot paint. So we had to go with a white sealant, and he went through on all of these seams. So even where the rivets connect to another piece of aluminum, he went over this part, sealed it, and this is all the way around the whole body of the trailer where the trim is. He went under and over to seal that as well. And we even were able, he went in and he popped this huge dent out from the curve right here, and he was able to put the sealant in the bottom, which I wasn't really expecting to be already done with that. We want to go through and take like a baseball or a softball and kind of like hit it with a hammer to try to even this out even more, but this looks so much better than it did before.
Yeah, there's a huge dent there.
Yeah, and we've already sealed the windows here with the clear sealant. Obviously we're not painting the actual windows, so all we're gonna have to do is just go back and kind of clean this up to make it look nicer. The biggest thing though is we're trying not to have any leaks right now. That's our biggest accomplishment. So we knew we wanted to work on the outside first so we could seal everything, prevent leaks, do a leak test when we pull out insulation and things. So this is essentially all the way around the entire Argosy. I wish I could show you guys the roof. That is where I feel most proud about my work. There was like an inch of caulking up there around the fans. Yeah, he can probably show you guys up there. Yeah. We've done a lot of work, needless to say, over the past 3 weeks. We've been working around lots of rain and days that you really just can't work in just because it's too hot, too humid. We didn't want to exhaust ourselves to the point where this was becoming something that we didn't like.
Yep.
So that's probably why it's taken us so long to do this part of it. But we're excited to be working on the inside now. So Micah is going to go around and kind of give you guys an update of what's next, what's to come, what we're working on the next couple of days here. They seem like really kind of tiny projects, random projects, but we promise this is all in sequence. So he's going to go around and kind of show you guys what we're working with.
A side note on the sealant, normally Airstreams are sealed with something called Acryl R. It's like ACRYL-R, and I wanted to buy some of that, but because we're painting over it, I don't know if that stuff is paintable. I probably could have looked it up, but instead we just decided to go with like white silicone that's metal to metal. Essentially it's meant for boats, so we presumed that it would be safe for this application. So that's what's on all of this. It's just silicone, a paintable sealant. And then yeah, on the inside of the windows it's clear silicone because we're not going to paint we're going to paint up to the edge of the window, but not on the window. And after it's painted, we will probably go back and just redo the window silicone again, just because we're super adamant about not having leaks. And the next things we're going to be working on largely are patching up holes. So this is where the antenna was that Krista wanted to keep, and
Still want to keep.
because we pay for Spotify.
Spatify.
So we don't really have any need to have an antenna, and including this one up here as well. So we're going to remove this one.
I think it's satellite for the radio.
Yeah, and so we'll be doing that. We just have to figure out how to get it off. I think that it's held on by rivets. Still have to figure it out. But today what I'm going to work on, and like for the next video, is covering up this hole just as like a practice round, because we bought a rivet gun, a pneumatic rivet gun.
I told him that I wanted a triangular shaped patch.
I don't care what shape the patch is as long as it keeps water out.
I think a triangle would be nice if you're not gonna let me keep the antenna.
I also, and this will all be recorded for the most part. So my plan for that is we have like this piece of aluminum that was left over, and we may even use some other aluminum from this door that we pulled off over here from the water heater, cover up other patches, because we have a number of holes that we have to patch.
We currently have a beautiful patch system, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Look at that. Duct tape in a trash bag. Yes, please.
Right. It's been raining nonstop here. So
it does the job, though.
I'll be working on trying to patch that, show you guys how I'm doing it. And essentially, I'll just be using some leftover aluminum. I have a jigsaw with blades that are supposed to cut metal. We'll see if that holds true. And I'll cut out a whatever shape Krista wants for this.
Triangle.
And then put some...
No, let's do like a hexagon.
I don't care. And then put some sealant around the inside of it, and then rivet it in with that pneumatic rivet gun. And I'll show you guys all that. And I'll also talk about some other things while I'm doing all of this that I feel like other videos haven't really covered. And that kind of bothers me a little bit, because I did a lot of research and like didn't find a lot of answers. Like I mentioned before, I read a lot of forums about a lot of different stupid stuff. And even in all of my research, there were certain things that still were just very unclear. So I'll talk about like specifically the pneumatic rivet gun and the rivets that will be doing this.
Should we also tell them about the KT lock?
We will talk a lot about the KT lock because I'm still working on it.
KT lock, if you're not aware, is the lock that comes like at the main door to unlock and pull and get inside. And we knew that we wanted to remove that lock, remove the handle, because it's not easy. It's stubborn. So we wanted to remove that lock, clean it up, make sure all the dirt's out of there, because he was able to pull some of it against the door, and it's just like dust and dirt from El Paso just falls out of it. So we're gonna show you guys the process of taking that off once we figure out what the process is, because once again, the information seems to not exist.
I looked at air forums a lot, and even on there with all the people that use that website, like there's so much information on there, and it's pretty easy to navigate. But even when you're like looking for information about the KT lock and fixing it, like it's super expensive to fix it, number one. Just to buy like single parts for it,
it's insane.
It's ridiculously expensive. To buy a new one is like it was at like $500 back in 2014 from some of the forums that I was reading. Now it's like over $700 for a new KT lock, which we won't be doing. If this one breaks for some reason, we'll just be buying a different lock and installing it.
Which we're really hoping that doesn't happen.
Hoping that it doesn't happen. And as long as I can get all those broken screws out of it and clean it up, and like honestly just get it off of the door assembly, then I think we'll be okay. But the trick is to get the stupid thing off first.
Right. And we'll show you guys that process once we get to that point. But we do have a couple of these little tedious jobs that we're working on today. While Micah is working on patching this beautiful hole with a beautiful shape that we just don't know what is gonna be yet, I'm gonna be stripping the paint off of the old propane tanks, and so that's essentially just the same process of stripping paint off of the shell here, except it's gonna be a smaller project. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I don't have to climb up on a roof and feel the 100-degree weather in my face.
Yeah.
So you ready to do this thing or what?
I guess.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started.
So my final update, at least for now, on the hitch, I painted it silver. I actually ended up going over it with a different Rust-Oleum paint. It's like the premium or professional grade enamel spray paint. It didn't quite turn out the way I wanted to, so I'm probably going to put a few more coats on it, because an enamel spray paint would essentially look shiny, because that's the whole point. It's like protective. And this one is, honestly, it is a lot harder than the spray paint I put on it before, because the other spray paint, when I would put any, if I would even touch it or like try to scratch it with my fingernail, it would take the paint off, and that was super annoying. So I wanted to put a stronger paint on it. And then for the saddles, I'll show you guys what that looks like, because I redid those as well. Alright, so these are the saddles that are used for the stabilizer bars when you're traveling. And I had spray painted them with the Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. And they looked okay, but I noticed as time went on, there were still parts that were still rusting, and then that stuff would also scratch off because it's not a spray paint, just a rust former, and then you're supposed to paint over it. I wasn't going to do that, partly out of laziness, but also because I didn't have any black paint, or at least I thought I didn't. And then I found that we had some black enamel paint lying around, and this one actually turned out really good. They're shiny, they're very hard, like the paint is very hard, that's not coming off. And I've put several coats on it, and it looks really good. So I did that to these, as well as the chains that attach to these. Like I said, they look really good. It's a very like random brand. I want to say it's called like Quick Paint or something like that. And we just had it lying around. I think Krista's dad maybe had put it in a box or something. I don't know where it came from. But it worked really well. I don't wish I had used that kind of paint for the silver portion of this, but whatever.
You live and you learn.
But so all this is looking pretty good, and I'm glad to be done with that, because honestly, just the same way that Krista was having a hard time with stripping paint, taking off rust was also a pain in the ass. So I'm not going to do that again for a while until we pull up the subfloor and look at the frame. But from what we can tell, the frame looks pretty good on the inside.
Let's cross fingers and hope we don't jinx ourselves.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Cool.
So